Okay, take it away, Brad.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Sorry for the confusion on connections. Good evening, everybody. I'm Brad Walker. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Boston Landmarks Commission on October 14th, 2025 at 6:10 p.m. Present are Commissioners Jacques Freeman, Orlando, Baraducci, Mac Jones, Haney, and myself. Also present are Boston Landmarks Commissioner Staff Architect Chelsea Blanchard, Architectural Historian Jennifer Gaugler, Deputy Director of the Office of Historic Preservation Elizabeth Sherva, and Director of the Office of Historic Preservation Kathy Kotorides. Did I miss anybody, commissioners or staff, on that? Okay. You can participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link posted on our agenda online at www.zoomgov.com/J/1619771861 or by calling 646-828-7666 and entering the meeting ID, which is 1619771861. You may also submit written comments at any time to us via email at blc@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28, 2025 amendment extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30th, 2027, we are conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Landmarks Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the meeting has been adjourned. If there are any media or elected officials present, I would ask you to use the raise your hand function in Zoom so that you could be unmuted and identify yourself at this time. Take a minute for that. Not seeing anybody. I will briefly read into the record our agenda this evening, which is rather brief. We're going to start by ratifying the meeting minutes of September 23rd. We then have a survey rating upgrade request for the Jordan Marsh store downtown. And then we move on to staff updates and commissioner concerns and an adjournment. So fairly early adjournment, I would think. I will move on to, oops, let's take a minute. I see Jeff Gagno has joined. Did someone else join while I was looking down? Keep hearing chimes. All right, let's go on to the meeting minutes. The meeting minutes for September 23rd, 2025 were distributed to the commission members prior to this meeting. I made a few minor suggestions to commission staff, but I would open the floor to commissioners for other comments or corrections if anyone has anything to offer. If not, I would accept a motion to accept the meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion, Brad.
Thank you, Justine, and a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, David. All commissioners present would be voting. So Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci.
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gagno.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So the meeting minutes are approved. We move on to the Jordan Marsh store in downtown Crossing. The Boston Landmarks Commission has received written requests to review the survey rating for the Jordan Marsh flagship store in downtown Boston. According to Boston Landmarks Commission policy, staff of the commission have evaluated the architectural and historical significance of this property based on the submission of documentary and field evidence and a comparison of buildings of comparable age, type, and style from the commission's survey data. Staff then produced an inventory continuation sheet and provided it to the commission for their review in advance of this hearing. The inventory continuation sheet conveys the staff recommendation for an upgraded survey rating. It's actually for an initial survey rating. And the commission can vote to accept that survey rating recommendation this evening or offer a different survey rating. The change of a building survey rating does not constitute designation of a Boston landmark or listing on the National Register of Historic Places. And I would now ask Jennifer Gaugler, please, to read the recommendation into the record.
Thank you. The Jordan Marsh flagship store at the corner of Summer and Chauncey Streets, occupied by Macy's since 1996, has an important presence in downtown Boston. Designed by the Boston firm of Perry, Shaw, Hepburn, and Dean, and constructed in 1948 to 51, the building combines Federal Revival details with modernist massing. I'd like to quote a passage from Richard W. Longstreth's book, The American Department Store Transformed, 1920 to 1960. Quote, drawing inspiration from the work of Charles Bulfinch and other turn of the 19th century sources they knew well, the architects developed an interplay of sculptural forms and large-scale classical elements to mitigate the effects of the enormous mass. At ground level, on the other hand, the effect was aggressively modern, accentuated by coved lighting, a curving canopy, and recessed display windows, made possible by a 10-foot cantilever of the floors above. Despite its novel effects and state-of-the-art interior, the scheme was snubbed by the architectural press and given far less trade press attention than its program would indicate. This cool reception suggests that the scheme sent too many signals of longing for temps perdu, or lost time, or perhaps it reveals how executives and designers regarded digressions from modernism by the 1950s, end quote. Next slide. As Longstreth describes, the building has invoked some negative reactions. Architectural historian Douglas Shantucci described its design as, quote, absurd, modernistic, Federal Revival style, end quote. Architect Donlin Linden compared it to, quote, an ocean liner rendered with oversized Georgian motifs. However, recent correspondence sent to the Landmarks Commission in support of the building praises its ingenuity. Preservation consultant Arthur Krim notes its, quote, distinctive New England tone, setting it alone above other American department store design of the post-war period. Architect and historian Alan Hess says its, quote, distinctive urban architecture and the integrity of its original materials, details, and design all made it stand out among the many historic department stores I know. We also concluded that this building can be read possibly as an early precursor to postmodernism. As noted by architectural historian Keith Morgan, quote, Jordan Marsh is either a survival of traditional design from the firm noted for its work at Colonial Williamsburg, or an early revival of historical forms predicting what would become the postmodern movement. However positioned in this debate, the handsome building is finely detailed and powerfully massed, especially the play of convex and concave forms at the corner, end quote. Next slide. Placing the Jordan Marsh flagship store in context is important to understanding its relative significance. Among mid-20th century department stores in the United States, it appears to be relatively unique. Post-World War II, many other department stores were moving into new suburban shopping centers surrounded by parking. Milleron's department store by Gruen Associates of 1949 was the first example of this new type of regional shopping center. Unlike Jordan Marsh, its design did not employ historical motifs, and it was sited in the middle of a vast parking lot. Similarly, Southdale Center in Edina, Minnesota, also by Gruen Associates, 1956, was the first fully enclosed and air-conditioned shopping mall, and its design was also very modernist. In contrast, Boston's Jordan Marsh store faced a particular challenge of negotiating a tight urban environment in a historic city, which the architects navigated by blending revivalist details with smooth modern brick planes and modern-style curvatures that soften the corner of the building. The recessed entry doors and deep overhang at the corner create a sheltered entrance at the corner of Summer and Chauncey Streets. Next slide, please. Among other works by the same architects, the Jordan Marsh store is again distinctive. Perry, Shaw, Hepburn, and Dean were Boston-based architects known for the restoration of colonial Williamsburg and for being proponents of the colonial revival style. Significant mid-20th century works by the firm in the Boston area tend to be more historicist than the Jordan Marsh store, although they are simply detailed and can easily be read as revival rather than original. This includes several buildings at Harvard, such as the Houghton Rare Book Library, Kresge Hall, and Aldrich Hall. Within the area of downtown Boston, the firm also designed the demolished Georgian Revival building at 124 to 126 Tremont Street as the home of the Merchants Cooperative Bank. Its pediment and Palladian motif evoked the Georgian style, although the building read as modern due to its simplified detailing and ahistorical proportions. And that's the building kind of right near the corner of Boston Common that is going to become, I believe, a Holocaust museum. So that building was demolished in 2025. Among the firm's oeuvre, the Jordan Marsh store stands out as its most distinct and prominent experimentation with the combination of historical motifs and modern streamlined massing. Next slide, please. So staff reviewed the survey rating policy, which establishes guidelines for how the commission and staff use survey ratings to determine whether a property is eligible for a petition to designate as a Boston landmark. So I just want to reiterate that the survey rating being voted upon tonight does not constitute landmark designation, but if the building is given a rating of local significance or higher, it means that that property is eligible for a petition to be accepted for further study. Next slide, please. So for the reasons I just explained about this building, BLC staff would like to recommend to the commission a survey rating of local significance, which is defined as you see here. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. I mean, normally we would move to a motion to accept this recommendation. I want to take a minute, though, to invite commissioners to ask questions or offer opinions on this. As Jennifer said, this is not a glide path to becoming a landmark, but it is a logical step to accepting a petition and moving forward to a study report, which probably would be a good thing to do to get more information for the commissioners. But I am interested in knowing if commissioners have particular thoughts about what they've learned in Jennifer's very nice work so far.
Could I chime in a little bit, Brad?
Absolutely.
I worked for, I was an associate at the successor firm, Perry, Dean, Rogers and Partners, for 10 years. So do I have a conflict of interest in voting on this? I did not work on the building.
No, I don't think so. That firm's been through a lot of transitions between then and now.
Yes, but the building has always been this bizarre mashup that's always been always made me smile. You know, walking down winter from summer. But I'm surprised that it's not landmarked already, actually. Okay.
Anybody else have thoughts?
I think this is John Freeman. I think it's a very interesting building, and I think it stands out in its time of construction, as Jennifer pointed out. And I think it also stands out today because and it has therefore in some ways passed the test of time. I also have always thought it was an interesting contrast to what we used to call the Filene's building, which was built in a different era with obviously different architects, but in many ways used similar themes. And I suspect they were looking at that building when Perry, Dean, and Shaw, or whatever their name was, when they were looking at this building. And I think it's the urban context and their response to it that makes this building worth evaluating further.
Yes, Liz, you don't need me to call on you, but sure.
I just wanted to clarify again that this is the portion of the building that is not up against Washington Street. So it would only be the portion of the building on the other end.
That's
Okay,
so what
On the-
does
Chelsea or Jen, can you explain the
Yeah.
dates on those two buildings, please?
because it's very hard to perceive that now, but yes, there was an original part and then an annex.
Do you want to go back, Liz, to
Mhm.
the second slide, which has the black and white photo? Maybe we could start there. So, commissioners, you can actually see on the left that the building originally was designed with just one bay on the right side of that photo. And then later it was extended. And then there was, basically a separate building from the 1970s built along Washington Street. We are not talking about that building at all. That part of the parcel is not being considered for this survey rating review. We could pull up Google Street View if we need to, but yeah, we're just talking about this portion with this brick facade.
Is that what the petition was for?
Yes.
Like just this part of it?
Mhm.
Because it's very hard to distinguish that now. Like there's a continuous facade on Winter.
Maybe I'm not being clear. Liz, do you want to
Yeah,
explain?
Yeah, I think a plan would be good.
so it
Or-
is only for this, and we can pull up Street View if you think that would be helpful, or an aerial.
Yeah, I'm
I
getting
think
it
it's
pulled up.
important.
Okay, great.
Because it's hard to
Yeah.
tell the difference and it's kind of all mashed together.
Yeah, you can tell a lot more clearly from an aerial view. Liz, do you want me to share my screen right now?
Yep, go
Okay.
ahead.
So here we go. Okay, so hopefully you can see this is the building we're talking about, the center of my screen, and you can kind of see that curved facade where Summer and Chauncey Street intersect. And you can actually kind of tell from the shape what's going on the roof that there's kind of the original building, this extension piece. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but
Yep.
Yeah, we can see it.
good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can you
perfect.
zoom in a little, Jen?
Yeah. And then I'll also go to Street View to clarify that we're not talking about this later building.
Mhm.
And let me go down to Street View so you can see. Let me turn around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not talking about this part of Macy's at all. This is a later building that is not included in the petition or in the survey rating, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So none of this on Washington Street would
Jennifer,
be.
can you speak to some of the changes that have been made on the top penthouse floor?
Mhm.
A little
Um,
bit. Yeah, let me try to go around the corner here. Whoops.
Jen, I can also share back to that photograph, which I think is helpful also, the black and white.
Yeah, sorry, I'm having trouble.
Oh,
Maybe it
Jen,
won't
seeing
let me
this
go down
view
the
is really
street.
helpful. This is that little view of because that's really useful to see.
Right, so you can
Like the
see
break,
here, I'm
yeah.
sorry, I can't seem to walk down the street. It's not letting me. Probably the Google car couldn't drive down that way or something, but you can see what we're talking about includes these 3 bays with the Federal Revival detailing, but it would stop here where you see this kind of blank portion
Okay.
of the facade. It would not include this portion of Macy's for the survey rating.
Jennifer, if you go to the aerial view and then click back onto the street where the entry is, that'll get you over there.
Yeah, I think I can go.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
it can go there.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then you had asked about rooftop.
Mm.
We
Yeah,
know that this form, if you can see my mouse again, there's a curving kind of concrete form up here that I believe is, let me go back
It's
to that
original.
slide.
Yeah, it's original to the building.
You can see that here. This is actually the best slide in some ways to talk about the difference. You can obviously see that stuff has been added to the roof without doing more of a study. I don't know like the full history of that, but
Mhm.
we do know that there's a lot of equipment up there. I believe there's some computing center or, lots of that kind of equipment on the roof right now. Actually, you can also see that from the,
Mhm.
when we look at
Yeah.
the aerial, you can see there's a lot of stuff up here.
Wow. That is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So most of that is addition. The original clear story up there, or whatever you call it, has been retained. It's hard. I just was having a hard time telling in the pictures.
Yeah, it's there. It just got like a clunky thing put on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Good terminology. I agree.
Yeah, a clunky thing. That black and white photo is really wonderful.
Yeah. I love the original sign too.
Yeah. Huh. So we're, I mean,
Just,
we're just talking about survey rating right now, but the ownership of this building is that I guess they own both parcels. Or
I don't think that that is outside the purview of our
Yeah.
request tonight. So, we really just do want to focus on the survey rating of the portion of the building that's been brought to us.
Yeah, because the survey rating can apply just to a building or even portion of a building and not the entire parcel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if the path were to go forward with a petition for designation, it would be limited to just this area that we're discussing right now. It wouldn't extend in any measure beyond this.
Yes, you're correct. So it would just encompass this the original footprint of this building. And then the part we looked at down towards Washington, it would not include that piece.
I just want to chime in.
Unless someone felt strongly about that part and
Right.
added it to a petition, but likely not. I mean,
Jeff Gagno?
Sorry to talk over you,
Mhm.
talk over you there, Chelsea. I just want to say that I appreciated seeing both of these pictures, especially side by side here, because that corner is not exactly a stop and look up at the buildings kind of corner that you linger on, and it's a little bit crazy. So seeing these two things was super helpful in terms of like, yeah, it is a, that elevation in particular is amazing. And I had actually never noticed the 3-story bay window until I looked at these pictures. So it was really helpful to see this information. Thank you.
So my comments still stand, and I knew that this wasn't on Washington Street, but you do walk up. So I spent a couple of years walking up this street weekdays and seeing first the Jordan Marsh building back when it was Jordan Marsh, and then the Filene's building on the right. And I think that's a really interesting sort of contrast. And as I said, I have no idea. Even I worked for the progenitor firm for a short while, not anything close to 10 years as Jeffrey, but I'm sure that they were. But back when General Dean was still alive, and I'm sure that they looked carefully at the Filene's building and would have, especially given their historic background. I really think it's an interesting contrast, a really unusual and maybe unique placement of two buildings in this urban environment.
I'm reminded of those diagrams that used to be in architectural history books that sort of showed rivers and tributaries of historic movements, and every now and then there's just a sort of little dead end eddy of something, and this feels like it's one of them, but it's kind of an interesting one.
I think it's some kind of like very special New England beginning of postmodern.
Yeah. I mean,
and we have a lot of amazing postmodern architecture.
Yeah, if you had to put it in the mainstream or on its way to something else, it would be postmodernism. But
I mean, knowing architectural history and then knowing Boston's architectural history, in my opinion, this is kind of a stunner. And yes, it's a question mark in many ways, but it's also so special, and it has lasted for a long time. And I love that overhang. I love seeing the store windows under the overhang. I love what it does to the streetscape. And I think it's really special, albeit very interesting.
all right. We don't normally take public comment on survey rating matters, so I'm not going to open this up to the public. If other commissioners don't have anything to say, well, let me pause and ask if anyone else wants to say something before I open this up to a motion.
Brad, are we able to add detail into the survey rating, like a plan or something like that, that just articulates a little bit more exactly what's being presented in the survey rating after the vote, or would that have to happen beforehand?
So, Jen, can you pull up the continuation pages?
Yeah. Oops.
Because this is, you know, this was sent out in the package of information.
Mhm.
Yeah, we talked about how to make it clear, but I didn't do a plan, which is a nice idea. You know, the corner of Summer and Chauncey Streets. But other than that, yeah, I think we could absolutely add a little diagram. I don't see why not.
I don't think we're going to have a measured drawing or anything like that,
No.
but just to show the intention of what we are looking at here as this older section, we can clarify that, and we can clarify that in a motion also.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right, so the
you.
motion would be to assign a survey rating of local significance to the extents of the property as we have discussed here tonight, which would be clarified perhaps in the continuation sheet.
So if you want to scroll, Jen, so it would be for the building between
Sorry, did you want me to go back or
the
for?
date, well, just for the
Oh.
motion.
Yeah, the 1948 to 1951 portion.
But when was the Winter Street facade extended? Do we know that date?
Ooh, that I don't know off the top of my head. We'd have to, so sorry, I should clarify that you can actually see, this is a good view. You can kind of
Mhm.
see a seam right here.
Yeah.
We are talking about with the extended 2 bays as well, which is why
Yeah.
a plan diagram would be very useful
Yeah.
here.
So we have 3
Oh.
bays each.
3
Mm.
bays and then not past the next break.
Right.
Jeffrey,
Right.
would you
Chauncey.
know if Perry Dean and whatever they call themselves now, Perry Dean Rogers, would have an archive with drawings in it?
Yes.
I'm sure
In
they
fact,
do.
they contacted us recently, and they shared a couple drawings, and I think they have, you know, we could access more. So we
Oh.
have actually been in contact with the firm.
So I do want to just bring this back to what we're voting on tonight, which is the survey rating. If we do vote this to be of local significance, we would then continue on to the next step. Kathy? Oh. We would
Can I ask,
continue
there-
on to the next step, which would be, you know, the petition, and obviously there would be more information at subsequent stages.
so the petition is, does the petition have any history of the next phases of the building that were added?
So what we have here is what the research that was brought to us by the consultant also who is working on the survey rating. So this is information that Jennifer researched and was brought to us by Jeffrey Cronin.
Kathy?
Kathy's hand is up.
See, Kathy's hand is up.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, the word petition has been used multiple times this evening. Is it a petition referring to the change in survey rating, or are we talking about a separate document that is looming?
My sense is when we've used that word this evening, it's in reference to a future petition that is not before us at this time.
That is correct.
I mean, it's not before us in this hearing, but has it been submitted to staff? We don't
It
have
can't,
a, we
well,
don't have a landmark petition for this building?
we can't
it.
until we have a survey rating.
Gotcha.
Okay, so as long as we have that sequence straight, I think we have to stick to the current work in front of us, which is the survey rating, and then determine if we are in a position to scope out what should be considered in the future if there is a submission.
Yeah, and I would assume that if in the future, if there is a petition and there is a study report and the drafters of the study report feel that more of the building should be included, they can come back for more survey rating.
That sounds wise.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're good on that, I will accept a motion at this time to assign a survey rating of local significance to the portions of the building that I think have been discussed clearly tonight and will be made more clear in paperwork.
I'll make that motion. Jeffrey
Thank
Haney.
you, Jeffrey.
I'll
And is
second.
there, sorry, who was that?
Alicia.
Alicia. And did I see Commissioner Ward Hyatt enter the room?
Yes, she joined us.
All right. So all commissioners present are voting. Commissioner Ward Hyatt, you're welcome to vote if you feel like you were here for enough of this. I'll start with Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci,
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Gagno,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So the survey rating is assigned. And we move on to the next agenda item, which is staff updates.
Thank you, Brad. The next Landmarks Commission hearing will be on Tuesday, October 28th. We will plan on meeting at 4. If there's an adjustment to the time, we will let you know. And then with the full business hearing following at 6. As I mentioned earlier, all of our staff Zoom accounts are now government accounts. And so you'll notice that the Zoom link is a little bit different. And what I will be doing is reworking the calendar invites. The best way to have the most current updated Zoom link to be using for a meeting is in the email that I am sending out to commissioners the Friday before a commission hearing. And that should also have all of the materials that you should need in preparation for the commission hearing. And if anybody else has any questions, certainly feel free to reach out to me. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thanks, Liz. I always want to take a minute to just open the floor to commissioners, open mic. Anyone have thoughts, concerns? Karaoke.
Brad, I will chime in here. I wanted to just let the other commissioners know that I did last week send in my letter of resignation. I will be leaving the commission effective December 31st. No specific reason other than 25 years sounds like a good point to bow out gracefully. So I just wanted to bring that out.
And you will be missed, David.
25 years is amazing.
Thank you for your service.
We're working
Thank you,
on
David.
a sash and a medal. Stand
Yeah,
by.
let's get a sash and a medal.
I
Thank
think
you,
I
John,
think a tiara would be better.
A tiara.
John, you're still longer than I am, right?
John Amadeo and I started the same time.
All
I
right.
know.
I think
So
we have a
that-
competition to see who drops dead first.
I know, that's great.
I think it means you're on the Baraducci appreciation subcommittee because whatever we do for him,
Oh,
follow
I
for
thought
you guys.
yeah,
I
Great.
know, it's gonna be hard to Everyone's gonna have to volunteer for subcommittees now because David always volunteers.
Yeah, and we need to
So-
fill up Fort Point Channel.
We do.
Yes,
We
That's
do.
the primary thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, really good point. Everyone, if you could dig into your heart and think about serving on Fort Point,
yeah.
it's
Jeff
it's an
Haney.
amazing thing. That I think that neighborhood in particular is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Well, we will, because with me being gone, we won't have quorum anymore. So we do need to have a minimum 3. So without me, it'll be just 2. So that's and I think that's why I'm pointing to you, Jeff, because my position on Fort Point is based on me being one of the 3, I believe, from the main commission on Fort Point. So you might want to think about that.
I got
Who's the
I
other
got-
one, David?
What's that?
Who's the other commissioner that's
Well,
on
it
Fort Point?
was the
It was
the other,
Lynn.
yeah, there was Lynn and
Mm.
oh gosh, what's
Sue
Wasn't it Sue?
Gorganian.
Sue Gorganian.
Two.
Yeah.
So at the moment, you're the only commissioner
Only
on Fort
commissioner
Point.
from the main commissioner, yeah, from the main commission. So
Yikes.
the other 2
So
are
I'm sure
neighborhood.
Joe will be like soliciting volunteers soon.
Yeah. So staff is,
Yeah.
yes, we are very aware of the situation. And you know, trying to get that filled.
Mhm.
In the meantime, we will take on some of the reviews at the BLC.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask too about the BSLA, because that's obviously, John
Right.
O'Day and I are the 2 from that.
Mhm.
Is it a requirement for the BSLA representative on the commission to live in Boston?
Yes.
Yes.
It is. Okay, because there was somebody that I had in mind that would be really good for it, but he doesn't live in Boston.
I have an extra bedroom.
I'll mention that.
Uh-huh.
You can
Okay.
do some mail fraud.
So David, I
Not
think
if they live
maybe
here.
we'll reach out and connect with you and
Yeah.
pick your brain a
Yeah.
little bit. So,
Okay, sure. No
But
problem.
David, you are identifying the immediate impact of your decision and all, but I really do want to say once again how grateful we are for 25 years of service that you've given us, and not just the time, but the insights. And I think there will be a time soon that we do roll out the red carpet and honor you, but I just want to say for the moment, thank you very much for all you've done. I think we're already identifying the gap, and I think we'll see even more as we uncover efforts to fill your shoes. But for the moment, let's all sort of give some applause, even virtually, to David for
Wow.
his time and service.
Thank you. Thank you. I did see early on, I don't know if she's still on, but Ellen Lipsey was on
Yeah.
the call earlier. She was the one that I interviewed with. Oh, there she is. So
There we go.
Yeah, she was great. So I enjoyed working with her as well. So all right. Well,
All right.
so I have
Thanks,
until
David.
December 31st, so you're not rid of me yet.
Nope.
Are there
Excellent.
other commissioner comments? If there are not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yes,
Jeff Gagnon, and a second, please.
I'll second.
Sorry, I couldn't see who that was.
Angela.
Angela,
Angela.
yeah.
All right, voice vote, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned, and see you next time.
Good night.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Bobby.
Everybody.